And it would finish the US 1, Canada 1. Herc, I want to start with you. What would be disappointing from a US perspective is the fact that when Canada scored that equaliser, there was absolutely no response.
No response all night. Very little idea or creativity. You knew Canada was going to come in, sit in, but disability, not having the ability to break in those lines, penetrate beyond that back four, or those two lines of four, I should say, was dumbfounding for me. You had Tyler Adams, Sebastian Lletget. You had players in the midfield that weren't creative. Christian Pulisic on the outside who could never get going. The little that he could do to show some danger wasn't enough. He still looked like he was a bit sluggish coming off of that positive COVID result, coming off those maybe 10 or plus days where he wasn't active. It looked like a U.S. men's national team with little idea. And if you're playing against a team that's going to sit in, bunker, and try to counter and be very effective in the counter, you played right into that. It was a little chauffeur from the U.S. men's national team. And quite frankly, I wish I could say I was surprised. But we saw this team win 2 finals this summer. And in none of those games, the semifinal versus Honduras, the final versus Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League, nor the whole Gold Cup, were we coming away saying, you know what, this is a well-worked team. This is a team that's structured. This is a team that knows exactly who they are. And everything that Gregg Berhalter and this coaching staff tried to sell us about that proactive, possession-based football, that brand, yeah, there it is. No, they won those games via the old regime way. You know, set pieces, fight, grit, spirit. Not this, we're going to be better than the opponents. They skated by, but they won. Well, that wasn't the case. Not against El Salvador and certainly not against Canada.
What was the one main problem, Ali, last night? What was the one thing you point at and go, this is going to be a real concern going forward?
Well, first of all, if indeed you're going to play a possession game that Herculez is talking about, then the speed of play of that possession has to be much, much quicker. It was all so very predictable. And so it's from point A to point B to point C. You don't skip lines of passing. You don't skip lines of defending. There is no change of pace. You look at a team that is playing almost stuck in second gear all the time. Yeah. The one time, and really the one player that shows some sort of spirit or willingness to change the pace of the game was Brenden Aaronson, where he forces a turnover, and then you see a sprint. God forbid, a sprint into the box, to get it into the 18-yard box, to get on the end of a cross, to go and score a goal. You don't see enough players in this team with that change of pace, with the willingness to sprint in behind, to sprint to get into spaces so that you can combine, so that you can speed up the pace of play. If you slow it down against a team that is comfortable sitting behind the ball, you're doing them all sorts of favors. And it became very predictable and very easy and very simple for Canada to defend. So much so that if you hear Canada talking about this game post-match, they're thinking it was disappointing that they only got a point. Yeah. That in itself tells you the story of the game. That Canada, coming into Nashville, says, you know what, this is a game that maybe we should have won.
That is the most telling of the statements I think anyone has made so far, Steve.
Well, do you know, when you're at home, whether it's a World Qualifier, a Champions League game, whatever it may be, at the start of the game, the opposition should be thinking, right, they're going to come at us and they're going to try and pen us in. That didn't happen. Canada was the team that started. And the other thing is, when you're the home team, and you lose a goal with nearly 20, 30 minutes to go, again, you're going to expect the home team with a crowd behind them to get after the opposition again. Those are 2 huge parts of the game that before a ball's kicked you think can happen or should happen. Neither of them were even close to it. Not even close. And the stadium was silent when the equaliser went in.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the crowd... You expect the crowd to try and help the team, but the crowd didn't help the team. Yeah. And what the team did on the field didn't get the crowd going either. So that's got to be worrying. You know, they've shown that recently away from home, the US are struggling to get results. And if you turn up and you can't dominate the opposition to start with, and you can't rally when the question's asked, my goodness, there's not a lot of positives there.
Seb, are you in full-on crisis mode now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's disastrous on every level. Like the guy said, it's disastrous because you're at home. It's disastrous because you should be getting Christian Pulisic back and bringing him back into the fold in a positive way. It's disastrous because you squander what was a great home field advantage there in Nashville. And if you want to talk about the individual matchups, I mean, it's a huge opportunity missed as well. The U.S. didn't stack up well against Canada. Gregg Berhalter didn't stack up well against John Herdman. Christian Pulisic didn't stack up well against Alphonso Davies. And I think the worst part of this result for the U.S. is it puts the pressure now on the game against Honduras, especially for the manager, Gregg Berhalter. If we're going to compare him at all to the last manager and when the pressure was put on him in the last qualifying cycle, it's about the same time. So I think this makes the Honduras match a must-win.
But you won the Nations League.
And the Gold Cup.
Herc will tell you what that's worth.
Going forward
right.
here, Sebi said if you don't get a result against Honduras, Berhalter's got to go.
Well, I'm hearing a lot it's a must-win for the U.S. men's national team. I don't know if it's a must-win for the U.S. men's national team, but it's definitely a must-win for Gregg Berhalter. Let's not forget how he got this position. Let's not forget about the 13-plus months lost. Let's not forget about what they sold us that this U.S. men's national team will be. Let's not forget where these players play. These are Champions League players, some of the best teams in the world, some of the best leagues in the world, and these same players were the ones who said, 9-point week. We want to dominate this region. That didn't look dominant to me. That looked insecure at best. This is a team now that, I mean, we heard Christian Pulisic himself say, you know, maybe we need new ideas. If that's not on Gregg Berhalter, I don't know what is. So must win for the U.S. men's national team. I think it's very forgiving the way you've got 12 more games after this. But Gregg Berhalter, that's a different story.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.